Are those trees? 7 weird and unusual trees. We all have a certain picture in our heads when we think about trees. Multi-branched, tall, with thin leaves, either deciduous or evergreen. But there are some plants that are tall and don't look anything like what we would typically think of as a tree. So are these plants trees? Well, that's a good question, and strangely, not a straightforward one to answer. There is no standard definition of a tree, either botanically or in common language. But most people agree that a plant that has an elongated trunk, which supports the photosynthetic leaves and branches at some distance above the ground, can be regarded as a tree. Some definitions are stricter, requiring the tree to have a woody trunk formed by secondary growth, that is, with growth rings, where the trunk thickens each year by growing outwards. Under this definition, some herbaceous monocots such as palms, bananas and papayas are not considered trees. So to try and make the situation a bit clearer, in some instances, trees are defined by use. For example, they are those woody plants that produce lumber, which I think is a rather disrespectful way of classifying a living organism. It only deserves a label if it is directly useful to us. So in this video, we'll go with the first, looser classification, which most people accept anyway, although any monocots we include will have secondary growth of sorts. So, what are these weird, unusual trees then? Well, the first one is a giant groundsel, a plant that looks like a pineapple crossed with a tree fern. They are dicots from the sunflower family Asteraceae. They are endemic to the middle latitudes of Mount Kilimanjaro in northeast Tanzania and Africa. This dormant volcano is Africa's tallest mountain, and the giant groundsels first colonized its slopes 1 million years ago. The giant groundsels, Dendrosenechia kilimanjari, grow at altitudes of between 9,200 and 13,100 feet, or 2,800 and 4,000 meters, where they get just enough rainfall to survive. The base of Kilimanjaro is hot and humid. Temperatures at the summit, though, which is 19,340 feet, or 5,895 meters above sea level, can drop to minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit, or minus 29 degrees Celsius. The mountain creates its own weather, with hot sunshine, snow, rain, and bitter winds, all possible at different altitudes at any time of the year. So the giant groundsels have evolved to cope with this variability. They have thick stems topped with a crown of leaves. The leaves are covered in hairs that limit how much water escapes by evaporation. Both the stem and the leaves store water for when the climate is dry, and the stems are protected and insulated by the dead leaves that curve downward. They also ooze a natural antifreeze that stops their tissues from freezing. The tallest giant groundsels are 9 meters high. They only grow 1 to 2 inches or 2.5 to 5 centimeters a year though, so the tallest specimens are at least 100 years old. Another weird tree is the dragon's blood tree, Dracaena cinnabari. It is found in the arid highlands of the Socotra archipelago in Yemen and the Arabian Sea, and the Canary Islands. This monocot has a dense umbrella-shaped crown of tightly clustered branches. There are evergreen leaves and rosettes at the branch tips. The stout trunk undergoes a form of secondary thickening that lets the trunk widen over time, which is rare in monocots. The trees are slow-growing, starting with a single trunk for the first 10 to 15 years. Some take 25 years just to reach 3 meters high. They can get as tall as 10 to 12 meters high, or 30 to 39 feet, and can live for hundreds of years. A deep red resin oozes from the plant when it's cut. This resin has been used traditionally as dye, varnish, and natural medicine, and as a wound treatment. It has antimicrobial and antifungal properties. The large canopy helps to shade its roots and keep moisture in the soil. It also provides protection for younger trees and other plants to grow, so it's critical in the health of the ecosystem. The trees get a significant portion of their moisture from mist clouds, which are reducing unfortunately as the climate dries out. The dragon's blood trees are considered a remnant of the Pangaean supercontinent subtropical forests. These forests are now almost extinct because of the extensive desertification of North Africa. The third unusual tree on our list today is the baobab tree, the Adansonia species. Various species are found in Madagascar, Africa, and in northwestern Australia. Baobabs are true woody dicot trees from the Valvaceae family. They have wood and cambial or secondary growth, that is, growth rings. The cambial growth gives them enormous water storing capabilities in their trunks. The trees are called pachycauls, plants with a disproportionately thick trunk for their height, and relatively few branches. This structure has given rise to it being known as the upside-down tree. Its sparse branches look like roots, as if the tree was somehow planted upside down. In fact, in African folklore, the tree is thought to have landed upside down when the gods uprooted it for its arrogance and threw it down out of the sky in anger. They are also sometimes called monkey bread trees, as the edible fruit is dry and somewhat powdery. The large flowers are showy and strongly scented. They only open near dusk. The flowers open so rapidly that the movement of the flower parts is visible. Most Adansonia species are pollinated by bats. Some baobabs are amongst the longest living flowering plants. The oldest known baobab, the Panky baobab in Zimbabwe, was some 2,450 years old when it died in 2011. The largest circumference of a baobab measured was the Glencoe baobab in South Africa at 47 meters, with a diameter of 15.9 meters. This tree is subsequently split into two parts. It is estimated to be 2,000 years old. And, just in case you're wondering, baobab and boab are the same trees. Australians, in true Australian fashion, just shortened the word baobab to boab. And unusual tree number 4 is the quiver tree or kokerboom, Alendendron dichotomum. This is a slow-growing tree-sized aloe from Namibia and the Northern Cape in South Africa. The pale, corky trunk forks into 2 branches, which then divides into 2 more each, and so on. This is called dichotomous branching, hence its Latin name. At the end of the branches are rosettes of succulent leaves. The common name comes from the San tribe, who used the hollowed younger branches as quivers for their arrows. The tubular yellow flowers produce nectar for pollinators such as sunbirds and insects. Thus, the trees are important in the arid ecosystem for providing shade and shelter for small animals and nectar for birds and insects. Despite being a monocot, the quiver tree trunk thickens to hold water using a special monocot cambium called a lateral meristem. The dragon's blood tree and the Joshua tree also have this adaptation. The Joshua tree, Yucca brevifolia, is confined mostly to the arid Mojave Desert in southern USA and northern Mexico. It grows slightly faster than the dragon's blood tree and quiver tree and can reach up to 15 meters. Some plants are hundreds of years old. The creamy yellow flowers are produced in panicles. Once they bloom, the flowers are pollinated by the yucca moth, which spreads pollen while laying eggs inside the flower. And fifthly, the jabuticaba or Brazilian grape tree, Plinia cauliflora, is a woody tree from the Myrtaceae family. It is native to southeastern Brazil. It is an evergreen tree with glossy green leaves and can grow up to 15 meters tall. The fluffy white flowers grow directly from the trunk and older branches, giving rise to purple fruits. This habit of growing flowers and fruits directly from the trunk is called cauliflory. It allows larger animals to reach the fruit. The fruits are popular with people too, and are eaten fresh or fermented into wines and jams. Another tree, the cannonball tree, Curupita guanensis, comes from the Amazon and the South American tropics. It also bears its flowers and fruit directly from its trunk. Ornate, fragrant flowers borne in long racemes dangle directly from the trunk, giving rise to large, heavy fruits. These fruits are eaten by bats and fall on the ground where large mammals and rodents can eat them too. Of course, if they land on your head, they could have a disastrous effect, hence the cannonball name. And finally, the boojum tree, Fuqueria columnaris, comes from southern Sonora in Mexico and Baja California. It is a woody tree with a tall, tapering columnar trunk. The thin, tiny branches coming off the main trunk give it a cactus-like appearance. These twiggy branches are covered in tiny green leaves. It can store water in its trunk and is adapted to extremely arid, foggy deserts. The cream-coloured, honey-scented flowers occur in short racemes or unbranched inflorescences. The flowers are also visited by bees from at least 15 species, so the trees are critical to the desert ecosystem and its creatures. The roots host arbuscular mycorrhizae that help the tree to absorb nutrients from the nutrient-poor soils. Arbuscular mycorrhizae, or AM for short, is a symbiotic relationship between a plant and a specific fungus. The fungus penetrates the plant root cells to form highly branched structures called arbuscules. These arbuscules help with nutrient exchange. The fungus receives carbon from the plant, which produces it through photosynthesis. The plant gains access to phosphorus and zinc from the soil, which it cannot absorb on its own. The boojum trees are very slow growing. They can grow up to 20 meters high, and they can live for centuries. Well, how fascinating are these weird and wonderful trees? It's always amazing what nature comes up with to adapt to these harsh conditions. Well, that's it for today. Let me know in the comments what you found most amazing about the trees. And if you found this video interesting, please like and subscribe. Until next time, enjoy.